Let's go. I.
Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jacinta. It is the first time here. Thank you for stopping by. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I made this chiffon gown you see me putting on right now. If it's what you're interested in learning, kindly watch till the end. And if you're yet to subscribe, please do where to hit on the subscribe button and also turn on your notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. So without wasting much time, let's get started with the tutorial. This is the material I'm going to be using for this tutorial. It's a chiffon fabric and I have 3 yards here. If you are of a bigger body size, you'll be needing 4 yards. Speaking of size, my size chart is still up on Seller for Sale. You can click the link in the description box below to get yours. Starting off with the front pattern drafting, from the tip of my pattern paper, I'll come downwards by 2 inches, make a mark there and square across, and I'll label that line my shoulder line. After that, I'll place my tape on my shoulder line and I'll measure downwards to my bust point, which is 10 inches, and to my half length, which is 16 inches. I'll make a mark there and I'll square across, and I will label my bust line and my half length. I added half inch to my half length, making it 16.5 inches. The half inch is for joining of this down part. Going back to my shoulder line, I'll divide my shoulder measurement by 2 and I'll mark that on my shoulder line. Then on that point where I marked half of my shoulder measurement, I'll come down by 1.5 inches for my shoulder slope. Afterwards, I'll mark my neck width of 3 inches. Then I'll connect it to my shoulder slope. After marking my shoulder slant, I'll place my tape on my shoulder slope and I'll measure 7.5 inches downwards for my armhole level. And I will connect with a straight line. Then on that point where my armhole level ended, I'm going to extend the line and that become my chest line. After labeling my chest line, I'll place my tape on my bust line and I will mark 3.5 inches, which is my nipple to nipple measurement, and I'll also do the same on my half length. Then I'll connect with a straight line. You can label that your dart line. Then on my half length, I'm going to come in by half inch on both sides of my dart line. Then I'll connect it to my dart line on the bust line on both sides, just like the way you see me doing. After that, I will draw my bust circle. To do this, I will place my compass on the 3.5 inches I marked on my bust line and then make the wideness of the compass to be 3.5 inches also. Then I will draw a circle round like this. If you don't have a compass, you can draw with only the pencil. You can watch my other videos to see how I drew my bust circle without a compass. So this is my bust circle. Hope you guys can see it. I couldn't use the marker because the marker cannot enter the compass, so I had to use my pencil. So after drawing this bust circle, the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark my under bust. To do this, I'll place my tape on my half length and I'll measure upwards to my under bust circle, just like the way you see me doing. So I'll make a mark there and I'll keep on marking like that. What I got for mine is 3.2 inches. So I'll keep marking that 3.2 inches upwards like this, as you can see. And after that, I'll use my ruler to square across and I will label that by under bust line. The next thing I'm going to do now is to tighten my under bust. To do this, on my under bust line, I'll come outwards by half inch on both sides of my dart line like this, and I will connect it to my bust point on the bust line. I'll also connect it downwards to my half length, just like the way I'm doing in the video, and I'm going to do this on both sides. After that, I'll come downwards by 2 inches from my bust line on the side front and I'm going to connect it to my bust point. The next thing I'm going to do now is to mark the neckline, but before I do that, I'm going to find the midpoint of my shoulder slant. I'm going to find the midpoint of my shoulder slant and I'll connect it to my bust point. Please ignore the lines I marked on the neck area. I was trying to illustrate something. Then for the neck depth, I'm going to come upwards by 3 inches from my bust line. Sorry for the camera position. I didn't know it was not showing my bust line. So what you're just going to do is come upwards by 3 inches from your bust line. So this totally depends on what you want. If you don't want your neckline too deep, you can go upwards by as much as 4 inches from your bust line. It's the more you go upwards from your bust line, the less deeper it is, and the more you come downwards, the more deeper it is. Hope you guys understand what I'm saying. After marking your desired neck depth, you're going to connect it to your neck width, and afterwards I will input my horizontal measurement. On my chest line and bust line, I'll mark part of my bust circumference and I'll add 1 inch sewing allowance. Then on my under bust, I'll mark part of my under bust circumference, and also on my half length, I'll mark part of my waist circumference. and I'll add 1 inch sewing allowance. Then replace the dart I took on the underbust and on the waistline. Afterwards, I'll use my ruler to connect these points. After connecting the point, I'll place my tape on this point where I marked my neck depth, and I'll come in by 1/2 inch and reconnect it to my neck width. And I'll also connect from my neck depth to my underbust using my curved ruler like this. This is the part that will be used doing the splash and spread. Then for the basque line on the waist, on the center front, I'll place my tape on my half length and come downwards by 3 inches. I'll use my curved ruler to connect it to the side front on the half length. Now on the shoulder, I'll add 1/2 inch for joining. The next thing I'm going to do is to extend this dart line to the basque line that we drew, just like the way I am doing in the video. Then after that, I'll cut it out so I'll have space on my table to close the side dart. Then to close the side dart, I'll make the 2 inches line that we marked for the side dart to meet the bust line like this, and I'll press it down so that when I open it, I can have the crease line or the center line. Then when I open it up, I will slash it open to the bust point, and I will also open up the line I draw that ran from the shoulder to the bust point. And I'll close my side dart, and I'll use my masking tape to hold it down. The next thing I'm going to do now is to cut it out. For the center front, I'm going to cut it following this line. Watch closely and see how I did the cutting of these pattern pieces. And after cutting each pattern pieces, do well to label your pattern so you won't get confused. So guys, I forgot to draw my armhole curve. I'll quickly do that. So placing my tape on my shoulder slope, I will divide my armhole level by 2. Then on that point, I will come in by 1/2 inch. Then I'll use my armhole curve to connect from the shoulder slope to the 1/2 inch I came in by to the quarter of my bust line that I marked on my chest line. And after that, I will continue my cutting. For this part that I'll be doing splash and spread, I'm going to mark 1 inch interval. You can do 1.5 inches if you wish. After marking the 1 inch, I'm going to connect it to the shoulder like this, and I will also number it. After that, I'll use my scissors to slash it open. While slashing it open, you be careful so that it will not get to the shoulder. You're going to stop very close to the shoulder. For the drafting of the back pattern, I've gone ahead to mark 2 inches downwards from my shoulder line. So I'll go ahead and label that. After labeling my shoulder line, I'll place my tape on my shoulder line, and I'll measure downwards to my bust line, which is 10 inches. And I will also mark my half length, which is 14 inches. Plus 1/2 inch for joining, making it 14.5 inches. I will square across and I will label those lines. Then on my shoulder line, I will mark half of my shoulder measurement. On that point, I'll come downwards by 1.5 inches for my shoulder slope. Then I'll mark 3 inches for my neck width and then connect it to my shoulder slope. From my shoulder slope, I'll mark 7.5 inches for my armhole level. Then I'll connect it with a straight line. On the point where my armhole level ended, I'm going to extend it, and I will label that my chest line. And for my armhole curve, just like what we did for the front, I'm going to divide this straight line by 2. Then I'll come in by 1/2 inch on that point, and I'm going to also find the quarter of my bust circumference and mark it on my chest line. Then I'll use my armhole cup to connect from my shoulder slope to the 1/2 inch I came in by to the quarter of my bust circumference on my chest line. For my back dart, I'm going to come inwards by 3.5 inches on my bust line, and I'll also come in by 3.5 inches on my half length. Then I'll connect with a straight line. Then on my half length, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on both sides of my dart line, then connect it to the 3.5 inches I marked on my bust line like this. After that, I'm going to impute my horizontal measurement. On my bust line and on my chest line, I'm going to mark quarter of my bust circumference. Then I'll add 1 inch sewing allowance. On my half length, I'm going to mark a quarter of my waist circumference. I'll replace this dart, and I'll also mark 1 inch sewing allowance. Then I will connect it with my ruler. On the center back, I'm going to come in by 1/2 inch for zipper bulge. Then I'll connect it to my shoulder line like this, and I'll also replace that 1/2 inch I came in by on the side back. I'm going to mark half of my shoulder slant and then connect it to my dart line. And for my neck width, I came down by 4.5 inches. I will connect it to my neck width with a curved line. I will add half inch to my shoulder for the joining of the back and the front shoulder. Then afterwards, I will go ahead and cut this out. I'm done cutting my pattern pieces. Next thing I'm going to do now is to cut this pattern on my fabric. To do this, I'll fold my fabric into two and I'll place each of my patterns on it. I'm cutting two pieces of each of them. One will serve as the main fabric while the other will be the lining. So when you fold your fabric into two and place each of your patterns, after cutting the first one, you will fold your fabric again and you're going to cut the second one. That means you're going to be having four pieces for each pattern. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. And I'm adding half inch for joining, so take note of that. So I was done cutting, and like I said, each of the pattern is going to have four pieces of fabric, as you can see. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to draft the sleeve. I've gone ahead to fold my pattern paper into two, and I'm going to place my tape from the tip of my pattern paper, and I'll measure the length of my sleeve, which is 7 inches, and I'm adding extra half inch for joining of the band. So I'll mark 7.5 inches and I'll square across. I'll place my tape on the tip of my pattern paper and I'll mark 4 inches downwards for my biceps. This is where my armhole will fall on. After marking the 4 inches, I'll place my tape on that 4 inches line and I'll measure 13 inches. This is because I'm going to be gathering the upper part. Normally, I should have inserted my actual arm measurements, but because I'm going to be gathering the upper part, that is why I marked 13 inches. So the cap, that is this curved part that I'll be joining on my outfit is going to be longer than normal. Hope you guys understand. Then after that one, I'm going to use my curved ruler to curve this my sleeve cap to make that 13 inches that I marked, just like the way you see me doing. After that, I'm going to mark 10 inches for my arm measurement. This is because I'll be gathering this down part also, and I will attach a band to it and I will connect it to this curved line like this, and afterwards I will cut it out. I was done cutting. I will gather the upper part and the lower part like I said, and I will label this. After that, next thing I'm going to do is to cut the skirt part of this dress. The down part of this dress is going to be straight, then I will gather it at the top. So I've gone ahead to fold the remaining fabric that I have. For the length, I'm going to mark 28 inches, which is 4 inches below my knee, and I will add extra 2 inches for joining of the upper part and folding of the down part, making everything 30 inches. So the length I'm marking is 30 inches. Then the width does not have any specific measurement. I folded my remaining fabric. You can do your hip measurement times 3 or 4 depending on how full you want it to be. So just make use of whatever you have as the width. So after marking my length, I'm going to go ahead now and cut it out. I will cut my sleeve and I will also cut the band. For the band, the width is 2.5 inches on fold, and then the length is going to be my arm circumference plus 2 inches. The 2 inches is the joining allowance. I was done cutting. The next thing I'm going to do is to join my fabric pieces together. For my front and back pieces, I'm going to join it using half inch, and I'm joining the lining and the main fabric separate. And please do well to differentiate the lining from the main fabric. Then for this piece, I'm going to be stitching only the center part, that is the neck line. I'm going to be stitching only the neckline area for now using half inch. And after sewing each of them, I'm going to iron it before turning it to the front side so that it will look flat and neat on the right side. I was done joining it and this is what it looks like. So what I will do now is to join this one that has the neckline to the center front using half inch, and while I'm joining it, I'm going to be pleating it. Remember we did splash and spread, so we are going to pleat it so that it will fit into front part. So I'll go over to my machine now and show you how you are going to sew it. I'll first of all sew these down parts together, then flip this over like this so that the right sides will face each other. Then I'll start pleating it just like the way I'm doing till I get to the end. So I was done joining it, and this is what it looks like. To make it look more neat, I will open press the seams, and then I'm going to use my lining to turn it. To do this, I will take this part that I've pleated inside like this. I will take it inside like this. Then I'm going to place the lining on top of it. I'll match it with the main fabric, making sure that every sides align. Then I'll pin it down and go to my machine and join it using 1/2 inch. I will also turn the back piece the same way. I was done joining the lining, and this is what it looks like. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to join the front and back shoulder together using 1/2 inch. I will also join the sides using the 1 inch allowance that we added. I was done joining the shoulders and the sides, and this is what it looks like. The next thing I'm going to do now is to gather the top of the down part and join it to the waistline of this upper part from one zip side to the other zip side using 1/2 inch. I was done joining the gathers, and this is what it looks like. So I'll go ahead now and fold the down part of these gathers using 1 inch, and then I'm going to use 1 inch to fix the zipper at the back. And for the sleeve, I'm going to gather the upper part of the sleeve like I said, and the down part of the sleeve also. Then for the down part, I'm going to gather it, then I'll attach this band to it. Then I'll fix it on my sleeve, and that will be all for the cutting and sewing of this dress. I was done doing that, and this is how beautiful the dress came out. If you find this video helpful, please click on the subscribe button, like, and tell me what you think about this dress in the comment section. If you're gonna be trying out this dress, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you guys in my next video.